Liverpool have been playing unbelievable, but their team can drastically change in 2025. From contracts of established players expiring, to the return of Richard Hughes, to Slot wanting to bring in players that suit his style, what will this Liverpool squad look like in the new year? Well, let's start with the elephant in the room. Salah, Van Dijk, and Trent all have their contracts expiring. These are three of the best players at Liverpool. They are the very best in their respective positions in the world. Salah is literally on track to win the Ballon d'Or. He's always been by far and away the best right winger in the world, but now he's going beyond that. We have to start discussing him as the best player in the world flat out. No attacker in Europe is currently as productive as him. The numbers he's putting up would be incredible for one season, yet we are only at the halfway point. Now, I personally think Liverpool will extend him, they're just negotiating the number of years. You see, from Liverpool's perspective, they're not paying him for what he's done. They're paying him based on what they think he can achieve in the coming years. So their concern is giving Salah the bag and then he just suddenly falls off a cliff. Now, anything is possible in football, but I feel like that's unlikely to happen to Salah considering how much he takes care of his body. He has the same dedication and work ethic as the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and Robert Lewandowski, two players who have aged very well. Salah is very professional, always in the gym, focuses on recovery. Now yes, some of his stats are down, like his dribbling and his pressing, but a part of that, especially the pressing numbers, is due to Slot's style of play. Liverpool hold the ball more, there's more control in their possession. They're not running around as much like chickens with their head cut off pressing.
The physical stats were much better under Jurgen Klopp, and he is slowing down. Or is it just adapting his game because of his years?
Maybe it's the manager's asking him to press less.
If anything, this more controlled style of play should actually increase Salah's longevity. Because Salah's output is still amazing even if he isn't beating players off the dribble like before. His passing, his football IQ, his ability to create a bit of space and shoot have never been better. So I think he will stay. But if he did leave, what are Liverpool's options? After all, whether Salah stays or goes, they should be looking at a long-term replacement for that right winger slot. No pun intended. Well, realistically, no one's going to be able to give you the same level of output as Mohamed Salah. So they would have to go back to the drawing board and go with their original approach, finding a young player that they can develop into a superstar. Pretty much exactly what they did with Salah, because when Salah was at Fiorentina and Roma, he was not putting up the numbers he's putting up now. Well, their first option, in my opinion, would be Karim Adeyemi. Funny enough, Liverpool had some interest in Adeyemi before his move to Borussia Dortmund, which doesn't come as a surprise because his skill sets are actually very similar to Mohamed Salah. He is comfortable playing anywhere across the front line and he has the pace to burn, making him a nightmare for defenders. He also has plenty of experience for a 22-year-old, having previously played in the Champions League, so that should make his transition to a big club like Liverpool a lot smoother. He's young, he's quick, he's a great dribbler, so the upside for him is very high. Another young player with potential would be Bakayoko from PSV. He is 21 years old, so again, it would have to be a project. Skillful, fast, the Belgian is super talented. Since he is young, Slot can also mold him into exactly the type of winger he wants. It's much easier to give instructions and develop a player who is at that age rather than going for somebody who's established, who already has habits that they can't get rid of. If Liverpool want to get a Premier League proven player, then they could either go for Jared Bowen or Mbeumo. Both are fantastic players who are overlooked simply because they don't play for one of the traditional Big Six clubs. Bowen is super versatile. He can play either up top or on the right wing or on the left wing, but right wing is his best position. What he lacks in output compared to Salah, he matches with availability. He rarely has missed games with injury, and he fits Slot's style of play really well because he can press, he can get him behind, but he's also great with the ball at his feet. Keep in mind, this guy in 2024 got 20 goals and 10 assists. And he was playing in David Moyes' system. Imagine in Slot's system, with better players around him, what his output could be. Because of his age, Bowen wouldn't really be a project, so he would probably be relatively cheap, and of course he's already comfortable with the Premier League. Mbeumo's inclusion on this list may come as a surprise to some. However, his performances for Brentford in recent seasons have been incredible. He's predominantly a right winger, but he can play through the middle as well. He's got some great features. He's fast, he's strong, good finisher. He's also left-footed, which means when he's playing on the right, he's very comfortable cutting inside the same way Salah does. He's another player with Premier League experience, and he's proven he has the quality to succeed in the league. He's only 25 years old, so he can develop and become even better, and I think he's one of those players that would benefit greatly from being around better players. Now, I think even if Salah stays, which is the most likely outcome, they should be looking at these players anyways because they need depth. Because think about it, right now they have 2 good players per position. You got Diaz and Gakpo on the left wing. You got Curtis Jones and Szoboszlai for that center attacking mid row. Jota and Nunes up front. But Salah, he doesn't have a backup. I think they thought that Chiesa could be in that position, but the guy is barely featured. It never hurts to increase depth in a team, especially given how many matches are played in a single year now. Ben Doak will also be returning from his loan stint at Middlesbrough, so in the short term, maybe he can fill the void as Salah's backup. Now we get to Virgil van Dijk. Van Dijk is probably the least likely to leave out of the 3 guys whose contracts are expiring. He's the captain, he has a family, so I doubt he'd want to relocate. Usually when top Premier League players leave the league, they either go to Real Madrid or Barcelona. Well, Real Madrid's not going to sign Van Dijk because they don't sign players over 30. And Barcelona don't really have the finances to pay Van Dijk what he would want as wages. To me, it seems like a no-brainer that Van Dijk will stay and hopefully finish his career at Liverpool. But Liverpool still need to find a center back in case Joe Gomez leaves. The Englishman is the longest serving player at the club and he was almost sold to Newcastle in the summer. Since Konate's injury, he's actually gotten more playing time, but that's never a guarantee that a player will stay. If anything, the playing time might remind him that, hey, I can be a regular starter for a top club anywhere in the world. Why am I just riding the bench, hoping somebody gets injured so that I can get an opportunity? Now, reports indicated that Liverpool actually tried to get Euro, but the French defender went to United instead. There's also been reports that Liverpool were looking at Bremer, the Brazilian center back at Juventus. There's also Gonçalo Inácio from Sporting. According to reports, Slot is a big admirer of the Portuguese talent who has a 60 million euros release clause. There's also Bade, the 24-year-old center back from Sevilla, who also caught the eyes of the Liverpool recruiting team. There were also reports about Mark Gay if Liverpool wanted a Premier League proven defender, but as Newcastle found out, the price is very high for the Englishman. The reports for Gay actually go all the way back to the summer. I think many articles had identified him as a potential replacement if Virgil van Dijk didn't re-sign, but I don't think Liverpool are going to go for him. The price is very steep. I think they would probably take those funds and try and find a more underrated, underappreciated gem from outside of the Premier League to once again develop into a superstar. Now, I think Trent is the likeliest of the 3 to leave. He's homegrown, but he has also won everything there is to win with Liverpool. He's also the youngest of the 3, so much more likely to make a big move or change in his life. The light and glamour at Real Madrid is just too bright. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to play for the biggest club in the world. Plus, his buddy Bellingham is already there too. I wouldn't blame Liverpool fans for being upset, especially since they have a great team. A lot of times in the past, when Liverpool legends wanted to leave Liverpool, it's because the club was struggling or they weren't at the top. But this team, they have the potential to remain a European powerhouse under Slot. But again, Real Madrid is just too gargantuan of a club. The opportunity to win the Champions League, and for Trent, based on his interviews, he's looking at the Ballon d'Or, and to be honest with you, you look at Carvajal, he was in the conversation, so maybe Trent can do it, but it is a little bit weird that the Englishman is so focused on individual accolades, but if he is focused on them, Ballon d'Or winners tend to be from Barcelona and Real Madrid, so if that's really one of his goals, that's the best place to go. Now, I actually think Liverpool will be just fine. Now, they're going to obviously miss his passing and using Trent to unlock low blocks, but I think Connor Bradley is actually a very good replacement. Of course, he isn't as good going forward as Trent, but he's arguably a better defender. He is young and hungry, and as seen by his performance in the Champions League against Real Madrid, he isn't afraid of the big lights. Signing a holding midfielder was Liverpool's priority last summer, but their target, Martin Zubimendi, turned down the move. It became a blessing in disguise because Gravenberch has really excelled in that holding midfield position. But another option in midfield would definitely be beneficial, especially since Endo is turning 32 years old and he clearly doesn't suit the way that Slot wants to play. There's been reports that Liverpool are interested in Brian's Baliba. Now Baliba, he's a beast and he would fit really nice in Slot's double pivot system, but Brian, they would want a fortune for this guy. Left back is another area where Liverpool could really strengthen in 2025. Robertson will be 31 years old in March and his current deal only runs until the summer of 2026. Robertson, he's an absolute legend of the club. He's been amazing. He's been one of, if not the best left back in the league for many seasons. But unfortunately, age is catching up to him. There's been many moments in the season where his individual errors have cost Liverpool goals. Tsimikas has really impressed, but I don't think the club sees him as a long-term successor for that position. Bournemouth's defender Milos Kerkic has already attracted some interest from Liverpool as a potential replacement for that starting left-back role. Now, I personally think that Liverpool should go all out for Robinson from Fulham. I feel like for multiple years now, this guy has been the best left back in the league. He's super athletic, good going forward, unlimited stamina. I think he would fit Slot's style incredibly well. Now, I also feel like Liverpool could do with a striker. It's probably not a position that they need to immediately fill, but I don't know if Jota and Nunez is enough to continue winning trophies across a long period of time. Nunez has done his role well, but I don't really think he's lived up to the transfer fee that was paid for him. It's exactly why Slot has found more success with Diaz as a striker.
And Diaz actually looks better when he's playing through the centre.
Jota is really good, but of course he has dealt with injury issues, so you can't always trust him to play 50 plus games a season. Everyone wants Gyökeres, but I think Jonathan David is another talent worth keeping an eye on. The Canadian striker at Lille is out of a contract in the coming summer and could agree to a pre-contract with Liverpool in the winter window. He did get 19 goals in Ligue 1 last season. He's a very good player, athletic, good on the ball. Thuram would be a really good selection too. He's been doing really well at Inter. Now, of course, Inter Milan is a massive club, but Premier League money, it talks. The transition from Klopp to Slot has been incredibly smooth.
Arne Slot! La, 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 la.
No new signings in the summer, yet the team still looks dominant.
Liverpool didn't buy players in the summer, but he's rejuvenated so many players. Gakpo looks a different player, Diaz looks a different player, Gravenberch in midfield, even Mo Salah from last season.
Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards have a history of recruiting well, so I think Liverpool fans should be excited. The Slot era is only beginning. To see Slot's journey on how he got to Liverpool and how he is building an army at the club, you have to check out this video right here.